Hey, what's going on, RC drivers? We've got an awesome racing machine for you to check out today. RC driver team member Dean Barry and our friend Jeff over at 413rc.com got together to review the Tekno ET48 2.0, and the action in this video is absolutely killer. Don't miss it. And when you're done watching the video, head down to the description below so you can subscribe to 413rc.com. He's got some killer action there as well. Jeff is awesome at filming, and now enjoy the video.
What's going on, everybody? It's Dean with RC Driver. Hope you're all having a great day. What we've got in front of us today is the awesome new Tekno ET48 2.0 8th scale electric off-road truggy. This thing is an absolute beast, and I can't wait to tell you about it. All right, I'm going to start off with what everyone is talking about, the unique body that Tekno has come up with for this truggy. Tekno again has thought outside of the box, coming up with a body that is designed to perform, although it might not look all that good to some people. I personally like it. It's got more of a truck look, more of a truck front end. It's got a little bit of a truck bed in the back. It's close to the sides to keep air out, prevent that parachuting effect. And again, it's a two-piece. We've got the nose with the headlights right here. According to the rule book that Tekno is following, the raw rules, it's got to have headlights. We've got headlights on the snout up front, and then our second piece behind the front shock tower. Again, more of a traditional truck look. It's got that cab forward design, and the body is really tight to the chassis, and I've attached some Velcro to keep it there so it doesn't flap around when in use. The wing on the back mounts directly to the shock tower, and it's got three positions: 0 millimeters, 7 millimeters where I have it, the kit build, and you can raise it up to 12 millimeters, again, to adjust the downforce and the handling characteristics. The white rear wing has markings all throughout, so you can put holes in it, again, to tune downforce. All right, I told you about the body. I usually wouldn't talk about that right away, but it's what everyone's talking about, so I wanted to get it out of the way. Let's talk about the build of the ET48 2.0. First and foremost, it comes with all the oils you're going to need. It comes with your differential fluid, it comes with your shock fluid, it comes with some black grease and thread lock. Many of the screws on the kit will come a little oily, so you might want to use a little motor spray or wipe them off before you apply that thread lock to make sure they stay put. On top of the fluids the kit comes with, I use some green slime on the shock O-rings. This helps prolong the life of the O-ring and makes building them really, really smooth. The instruction manual on this kit is, without question, amazing. Tekno has the best instructions on the market as far as I'm concerned, and this just goes and proves that. Very, very detailed. It's got text instructions as well as phenomenal imagery, and the parts you need to really note, the important parts, they put in red, so it pops off the page to make sure you pay attention to it. They'll tell you when to tighten something all the way down. They'll tell you when to tighten it down and back it off a little bit, when to put in thread lock, and also toward the back of the manual is an amazing, well-detailed tuning guide to help you get this truggy hooked up no matter where you are. Something I wish more manufacturers would do is include well-detailed shock building instructions. Tekno, all their manuals that I've seen, have amazing shock building instructions. How to bleed the shocks properly so they are done right the first time. Well done, Tekno. The fit and finish on everything in this kit, from the first set of instructions to the end, was absolutely perfect. No binding, no need to pull out an arm reamer, no need to pull out an extra X-Acto knife. Absolutely flawless fit and finish. One thing to note about the build, Tekno includes some diff shims, so the bevel gear and the pinion gear have the perfect mesh. These are optional and I didn't need them, but it's nice to know Tekno does include these, so you can always have the perfect mesh of your bevel and pinion gears. All right, let's move on to the drivetrain. Front, center, and rear of this vehicle have large volume fluid-filled diffs. Perhaps the largest volume diff I've seen in an 8th scale truggy. That's going to provide for some smooth action even if you're running a long 10 or 15 minute main or just out bashing for a long period of time. Both the front and the rear differential bevel gears are made from hardened steel, so they're going to last a long while, as is the pinion gears. And the internal spider gears and sun gears are made from hardened steel. Again, They're gonna last for a long while. At the center point, the spur gear on the center differential is made from composite plastic, so again, low rotating mass, but high durability. Power is transferred from that center differential to the rear drivetrain by way of a universal drive shaft, and it's taken to the front end by a long, lightened dog bone. At all four corners of this vehicle are hardened steel type CV drive shafts. Those CV drive shafts insert into the wheel bearings, so the pins are automatically captured. You don't have to worry about a set screw loosening up and a pin flying out. So again, it's made to last, it's made light, and it's made durable. Way to go. All right, let's move on to the suspension of this vehicle. A big vehicle requires some big suspension components, and Tekno did not cheap out. We've got a 5mm thick 7075 aluminum anodized shock tower up front. It's got 4 positions for each shock to be mounted for tuning. On the back end, we've got a 4mm thick tower. Also, 4 positions to mount your shocks for tuning. The Tekno ET48 2.0 is made as tunable as any vehicle on the market. At the A, B, C, and D suspension blocks, there's pill inserts to tune the vehicle, as well as the outer A-arms, there's pill inserts, and at the hubs. So you can adjust toe, you can adjust roll center, and a variety of other things to make sure this vehicle is hooked up no matter where you go. Something I absolutely love is the sway bar setup on this vehicle. Front and rear sway bars ride on ball bearings. They're smooth, there's no little set screws to fiddle with to get the perfect feel. They are just absolutely spot on the second you put them in. Way to go, Tekno. Absolutely love the sway bars that ride on ball bearings. All 4 suspension arms at the inner points have metal inserts, so you don't have to worry about reaming out the A-arms to get the perfect feel. This is amazing. Pop in the insert, slide in the hinge pin, mount them into the A, B, C, and D blocks, and they absolutely ride friction-free. They're not going to wear and develop slop after a while, and I just think this is an amazing idea. I'm surprised people haven't used this concept earlier. So again, Tekno doing what other manufacturers don't do to make sure this truggy is going to be absolutely dialed, not just on the first run, but on the 41st run, the 51st run, and so on. Keeping with the suspension arms, these things are absolutely beefy and overbuilt. If you break one of these suspension arms, you've done something wrong. You've gotten 50 feet of air and hit a telephone pole, or just hit something at full speed. They are absolutely beefy and overbuilt in every way. Talking about the front suspension arm, they have a bit of a twist to them. This is unique among vehicles. Again, Tekno thinking outside of the box. Tekno put the caster in the front arm. Again, this is going to make for a smooth suspension feel, going to really help with cornering. And again, something unique to Tekno that makes them one of the industry leaders when it comes to innovation. On each of those suspension arms, front and rear, are 3 shock mounting positions. So again, more tuning options to get you ready to race. At the inner point of each suspension arm, you're going to find droop screws as well. These can be used to help adjust ride height. Have the ride height higher is going to help increase steering, help with big jumps. Lower, you'd probably use that for a smoother track if you were racing. So again, more tuning options on the Tekno ET48 2.0. Aluminum machined 15-degree caster blocks are found on the front end of this vehicle. They are beautifully made and again, oversized and beefy. They're not going to have any problems. What I really like is inside these caster blocks are ball bearings where the knuckles mount in. That means there's going to be some seriously smooth steering action run after run. Slop is not going to develop. At various points in the front end, Tekno has equipped it with set screws to make sure nothing loosens up or backs out. Again, this is going to prevent you from having a piece pop off or loosen up in a main or while you're out bashing, ending your day of fun. Keeping with the front end, the steering knuckles have button head set screws on the inside so you can set endpoints mechanically as well as with the endpoints on your radio. Again, well done Tekno, keeping these fine details in. All right, let's talk about the shocks. The shocks on this Tekno ET48 2.0 are absolutely amazing. They're big bore, they're smooth, they're plush. Let's dive into them. The top shock caps are made out of aluminum. They're durable. They're going to stand up to flips and crashes. They've also got bleeder screws, bleeder valve screws. so building and rebuilding is easy, and inside those caps are bladders to make for the perfect build each and every time. The shock bodies themselves, they're threaded, they're hard anodized, so you could set preload on all four corners really easy. The collars, though, a little bit of an issue. I shouldn't say issue. They use an O-ring inside so they don't adjust themselves, and that makes tuning them up or down really hard. When I built this kit, it took a while to get the preload where I wanted it when you first start off. So again, I like that they don't move too easily, but on the initial build, because they don't move too easily, it did take some time. At the bottom of the shock, there's also an aluminum cap to hold the O-rings and the Delrin guides, again, making a smooth, plush feel. Inside the shock, you've got a Delrin shock piston as well. The shock piston is held on with a 5mm nut. No crazy E-clips to pop off inside the shock, making your truck handle terribly for no apparent reason until you pull that shock apart. So again, holding that shock piston on with the 5mm nut makes sure you're not going to have any problems down the road. The shock perches on the ET48 2.0 are just like the other shock perches on Tekno vehicles. They are captured with a longer set screw right into the eyelet at the bottom, so they're not going anywhere. I believe Tekno was the first manufacturer to do this, and others have jumped on the bandwagon, but it was Tekno that came up with this first. The shock perches aren't going to fly off in a bad crash, leaving you with an ill-handling car. The shocks are held on at the A-arms with right-handed and left-handed threaded screws. This ensures they don't loosen up and stay in place run after run after run. Moving on to the steering, Tekno utilizes a dual bell crank setup. Similar to most other vehicles, what Tekno has done here is they've included on the right-hand side your standard spring-loaded servo saver built in, but they've also included a lockout or a single-piece unit so you'd have a more direct feel. I would not recommend this if you are a basher or a first-time racer. This is probably designed for the most serious of racers where you're not going to be crashing too much. A direct no servo saver setup is probably going to destroy a great many servos if you're bashing or crash hard. The backbone of the Tekno ET48 2.0 is the 4mm thick hard anodized chassis. This thing is a work of art. It's been milled out strategically to add some rigidity to it and also save a few grams. At the front, center, rear of the vehicle, you'll find chassis braces that mount to the rear bulkhead, the center bulkhead and diff mount, and the front steering plate. You're never going to have no chassis flex, but this really helps keep the vehicle rigid. And again, you can also tune the chassis flex by tightening or loosening those screws up just a little bit. On the right-hand side of the chassis is a one-piece servo and speed control mounting setup. I really like this. It's mounted the chassis on the bottom with 6 screws. Pop out those 6 screws, you can take out the servo and speed control in one easy step. Located behind the motor is an oversized receiver box. We've got our Spectrum receiver in there, and along the right side of the chassis are wiring guides to keep the wiring nice and neat. On the left-hand side of the chassis is where you're going to find the battery. Battery is held in with a really large, wide Velcro strap, and on either side of the battery, what appears to be additional holds, or hold downs, I should say, those are actually used for as a stiffener. You could take those out per the manual if you want to add a little more flex to the chassis. Again, Tekno, all about tuning. And back to the right-hand side of the chassis, we've got the motor mount. It's a sliding style motor mount, super easy to use. Take the little block, put it on the motor, slide it in, 2 screws help you set the mesh, bam, you're done, nice and easy. All right, it's time to talk about the running gear. This kit does not come with any electronics or tires or wheels. So let's talk about what we used. As far as the electronics, I went with a Tekno RX8 Gen 3 speed control. This thing is awesome. I've used Tekno electronics for a long while, and I really love the feel and the power it can handle. I went to Tekno's website and downloaded one of Tekno Driver's throttle profiles, used the Hotwire programmer and my phone to load that right into the speed control, so I should have a really good starting point. I'm also using a 1900 kV motor from Tekno. Again, this should have amazing power and awesome torque, and I've paired that with a 15-tooth pinion gear. For steering, I went with a Hi-Tech D951 Ti servo. This metal geared servo has a crazy 400 ounces of torque, so it's really going to get these big tires moving really quickly. It's got a standard 25 tooth spline, and I went and picked up an aftermarket aluminum Tekno servo arm. It's the only aftermarket part on here. What I would like, I really love servo manufacturers to get together and come up with a standard. The kit comes with a 23, 24, and 25 tooth plastic arms. Great that Tekno includes that, but I think more manufacturers would just include an aluminum arm if the servo manufacturers could just come up with a standardized spline. To complement the power system, I went with a New Wave 6500 milliamp 130C4S battery. This battery from New Wave is amazing. It's got bullet connectors to make the wiring nice and easy, and an inboard balancing port. On all four corners, I went with Proline buckshot tires. It's got a nice tread. Hopefully it hooks up well at the outdoor off-road track at RC Madness. We're going to find out really soon. For great control, I went with my Spectrum DX5 Pro radio. I love this radio. It's got all the tuning features, and it's got a great feel and response time. And to top everything off, this body was sent to Bradley Fine Line Design. Bradley, again, he's not just a painter. Bradley Fine Line Design is an absolute artist. So we've told you about it. Can't wait to see it in action. Okay, so we ran the Tekno ET48 2.0 over 2 days on the big dirt track at RC Madness, and all I can say is wow, this thing impresses from the moment you pull the throttle back. We had 3 different people test the truggy, myself, Justin, and Tyler, all of whom are really good drivers on that big off-road track, and all 3 of us have the same exact impression. The truggy jumps just like a buggy, probably because of this body and its design. It just launches itself through the air. It doesn't have any extra hang time, and it just comes down plush. It's amazing. Second, it corners unbelievably well. You could steer it around a corner tight, or you can hold the throttle and just spin the back end around, and it stays planted how you want it. Going down the straightaway, pull the throttle back and hold on. The thing launches itself forward and stays planted and stays straight. It's just an absolute pleasure to drive. It is evident that Tekno has done their homework from bumper to bumper to make the ET48 2.0 all that it could be and just a little bit more. Talking about a little setup on the truck, we went with a 14-tooth pinion gear, basically because that's what I had in the workshop at the time when I was putting this together. With the current track design at RC Madness with the 2 straightaways that you've seen in the video, I would definitely go up a couple teeth, maybe to a 16, possibly even a 17, because the motor wasn't getting all that hot. Tekin motor ran very cool, actually, to give it a little extra zip down those 2 straightaways. We really didn't have any problems with runtime either with that 6500 milliamp new wave battery. So to maybe, enhance the performance of this truggy a little bit more, would absolutely go up on the pinion gear. The Proline buckshot tires on all 4 corners of this truggy are absolutely perfect for the track at RC Madness. They hooked up, again, as I said, the truck tracked straight. It went around corners exactly like we wanted it, whether we wanted to take a tight, sharp corner or just power around and spin the back end. It was always predictable. So again, at that track, for the setup we have, the buckshot tire was absolutely perfect, spot on. As I've said, from bumper to bumper, from the twist in the front A-arms to all the subtle little changes, Tekno has done their homework. This truggy is an absolute blast to drive. Fast, durable, nimble, and it handles very well. Couple editorial notes on this. I love the body, I love the look, and it absolutely improves the performance of this truggy. I really do think more manufacturers and aftermarket body makers will be coming out with something similar for other vehicles on the market. That having been said, if I was a basher where I'm going to launch this thing like a crazy man, I might opt to put a more traditional truggy body on it to give it a little more protection on the front shock tower. For racing, absolutely go with this. For bashing, maybe think twice and try to find yourself a more traditional truggy style body. And again, it's just for that added protection of the front end. All right, everybody, I want to thank you for watching this video today. We really appreciate it. Please give it a thumbs up and drop us a comment below. Tell us what you think about the body and your overall impressions of the Tekno ET48 2.0.